Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tearing down a wildly common and, frankly, incredibly expensive modern illusion. Right now, it seems like absolutely everyone wants to start a clothing brand, right? You see it all over your social media feeds. It looks incredibly glamorous, highly aesthetic, and honestly like the ultimate modern gold rush. You imagine designing this beautiful, minimalist hoodie, getting it manufactured, dropping it online, and just watching the sales roll in. It seems like the easiest path to becoming an entrepreneur. But is it really?
Here is the exact kind of naive expectation that trips almost everyone up. It's the simple math you do in your head when you first get this idea. You think, well, I can buy a blank hoodie for 15 bucks, I'll print a really cool logo on it, and I'll sell it to my followers for $150. That leaves you with $135 in pure profit per hoodie. You multiply that by 100 hoodies a week, and suddenly you're pulling in over $500,000 a year just sitting at your laptop. Sounds like easy money for sure. But I have to shatter that math for you right now, because that $135, it's a complete fiction.
Okay, let's dive into this. Behind that perfectly curated Instagram aesthetic lies a reality that very few people talk about. The fashion industry is, quite literally, an economic meat grinder. It is this incredibly complex web of global supply chains, predatory advertising networks, massive inventory traps, and razor-thin margins. So today, we're stripping away all the hype. We're going to look at the raw, uncensored balance sheet of a clothing brand. Because in the world of fashion, your survival isn't actually about your creativity. It is purely about your unit economics.
Section 1. The cost of creation, or your true cost of goods sold.
To really understand this reality, we have to start at the very beginning. Most new founders think their cost of goods sold, their COGS, is just the price of the fabric. It absolutely isn't. If we break down a realistic 500-unit run of mid-tier streetwear, the foundation of your business is heavily inflated by all these hidden layers. First, there's your location choice for manufacturing. If you want that premium cut-and-sew label from Portugal or Los Angeles, that is going to cost you 4 times more in labor than manufacturing in Pakistan or Bangladesh. Then you have the tech pack. That's the literal blueprint you have to give the factory. Designers will charge you $200 to $500 per garment design just to make that document. Add in custom neck tags, woven hem labels, poly bags, hang tags, and the freight to ship the whole shebang to your warehouse, and the pie chart of your expenses just grows and grows.
So let's look at the real numbers for a single $80 hoodie. Your true COGS, including manufacturing, labels, and freight, comes out to roughly $27. That leaves you with a 66% gross margin, giving you an on-paper profit of $53 per hoodie. Now, looking at this number, you might be thinking, hey, 53 bucks is still pretty amazing. But hold that thought. We are just getting started.
Section 2. The silent killer. Customer acquisition cost.
Back in the 1990s, brands grew by getting placed in massive retail stores like Nordstrom. Today, in the direct-to-consumer era, you are bypassing retail entirely, but you're now competing with literally millions of other Shopify stores. To get eyeballs on your product, you have to pay the internet gatekeepers, places like Meta and TikTok. Let's walk through the brutal math of this e-commerce advertising funnel. Step 1. You pay roughly $15 to $20 just to show your ad to 1,000 people on social media. Step 2. Out of those 1,000 people, only about 1 to 2% will actually click your ad. That leaves you with roughly 15 visitors to your website. Step 3. Out of those 15 visitors, the industry average conversion rate is a mere 2%. So, statistically speaking, you need hundreds and hundreds of people to see and click on your site just to secure one single purchase.
When you tally up all those clicks and impressions that didn't convert, the financial blow is massive. Buying a single customer can easily run you $30 to $40 in ad spend alone. Let's split the difference and call it $35. That is $35 you have to hand over to Mark Zuckerberg before you've even shipped a single thread of clothing.
Now, what's really interesting about this is watching how fast the dream unravels when we update our balance sheet. We take your $80 in retail revenue. We subtract the $27 to actually make and ship the hoodie, and now we subtract the $35 it just cost you to acquire the customer. Your profit just plummeted from 53 bucks down to a measly $18. And I need to remind you, out of that $18, you still haven't paid your warehouse rent, your software subscriptions, or yourself.
Section 3. The graveyard of brands, otherwise known as the inventory trap.
This trap catches so many people because factories do not work for free, and they certainly don't do small favors. They require minimum order quantities, usually around 100 to 300 pieces per style, per color. And crucially, they demand a 50% deposit upfront before they even buy the fabric, with the remaining 50% due right before the items ship. Let's map out this agonizing timeline for you. In January, you pay the factory a $10,000 deposit to start production. Boom, your bank account is drained. Now you wait. In April, the clothes are finished, and you have to pay the remaining $10,000. Now you're $20,000 in the hole. In May, the clothes finally arrive at your warehouse and you start selling them. If you are incredibly lucky, by July, you finally sell enough to make your $20,000 back. That is a massive multi-month gap where your money is completely tied up.
And here is the true trap embedded in that timeline. If your brand is actually succeeding and growing, you have to order your fall collection in June, which is before your spring collection has even finished selling out in July. So your cash is perpetually locked up in cardboard boxes, sitting in a warehouse somewhere. As the saying goes, you are paper rich but cash poor. If a shipping container is delayed or just a single collection flops, your business goes bankrupt overnight because you simply don't have the liquid cash on hand to pay your bills.
Section 4. Operating expenses and the return rate epidemic.
So even if you have perfect cash flow, you still have to deal with operating expenses, or OPEX. This includes things like your Shopify fees, email marketing software, and 3PL warehouses that charge you to pack and ship every single item. But honestly, all of that pales in comparison to returns, because unlike buying a book online, clothing is highly subjective. It has to fit. And because of this, the online fashion return rate averages anywhere between 20 and 30%. When a return happens, it's a compounding financial hit. Money is effectively flying backwards out of your cash register. First, you lose the original revenue from the sale. Second, you sink the money you spent shipping it to them in the first place. Third, as a brand trying to stay competitive, you often have to pay for the return shipping label. And finally, you have to pay warehouse labor costs for someone to literally open the returned package, check it for stains or perfume, fold it back up, and restock it.
So, the crucial point here is this. If a customer returns a hoodie, that single transaction can completely wipe out the hard-earned profit of 3 other successful sales. Just think about that. You worked so hard, paid so much in ads to get those 3 sales, and one wrong size selection from a customer makes it all vanish. This completely shatters whatever remaining illusion we had of our initial $135 profit margin.
Section 5. Winning the game. How successful brands actually survive all this.
If the economics are this utterly brutal, how on earth do brands like Gymshark, Supreme, or massive independent streetwear labels actually become worth millions of dollars? Well, they survive by mastering specific economic levers. The first survival lever is AOV, or average order value. Successful brands realize they absolutely cannot afford to take a $35 customer acquisition hit just to sell one $30 t-shirt. They would lose money every single time. Instead, they use smart website bundling and lookbook styling to sell a full outfit. If they can convince a customer to buy the t-shirt, the matching pants, and a pair of socks all together, pushing the total order over $150, they drastically dilute the impact of those shipping and marketing costs.
The second lever is LTV, or lifetime value. Winning brands don't want to rely on Mark Zuckerberg's ad platform forever. They cultivate deep, intense brand loyalty and incredibly vibrant communities. When a brand identity is strong enough, that customer will return for every single new seasonal drop entirely on their own. The brand captures repeat purchases without spending another single dollar on ads, meaning the profit margin on that second, third, and fourth purchase is exponentially higher.
And the final lever is mastering scarcity and pre-orders. Remember that terrifying inventory cash flow trap we mapped out earlier? Smart brands use hyper-limited drops and pre-order models to solve it. By generating immense hype, they collect the customer's money up front before they ever have to pay the factory's final balance. This effectively uses the customer's own money to fund the production, completely eliminating the brand's cash flow risk. It's honestly pretty brilliant. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate paradigm shift in this industry. You see, the naive approach is focusing purely on fashion, aesthetics, and having the coolest design. But the winning approach realizes that creativity only gets you noticed. Economics is what keeps you alive. A wildly successful clothing brand is, in reality, a masterclass in logistics, financing, and supply chain management that just so happens to sell fabric. The business of fashion is beautiful, it is creative, and it can be incredibly rewarding. But it is entirely unforgiving to those who ignore the numbers. The balance sheet does not care about your aesthetic. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. If you want to build the next great modern brand, will you master the math, or will you let the math master you?